The increase in lockdowns is testing the economic endurance of Americans. Many are weighing tough decisions about their long-term finances, all with their health and safety in the background. But how does all this play out in how you spend your money right now? Bloomberg's Steve Matthews joins us from Atlanta with more. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Now, first off, we have hope from a vaccine, but we still have this reality of rising cases every day. And as a result, Americans are stuck in the middle. Now, you've talked to businesses, you've talked to economists. What's the general consensus here?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. In fact, the markets have gotten very excited about the vaccine. We're going to get a vaccine from Moderna, from Pfizer, both of them 95% effective. Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, says that even people at low risk could get a vaccine in April. So that's 6 months away. That's very good news. The problem is right now, the level of infections is just rising dramatically. We're up to 150,000 a day. There's some economists and on Wall Street who predict the U.S. could be at 200,000 a day by the end of this week. We could be at 300,000 after Thanksgiving and sometime in December. And the problem is it's not just a health crisis, but it's an economic crisis. There are lots and lots of businesses and unemployed people who are kind of hanging on by a thread. And this is, this is, the kind of the Charles Dickens story, the best of times, the worst of time. The best of times is we're going to get the vaccine, and that shows some promise that we're going to be done with the pandemic next year. But the worst thing is that these companies, they got some stimulus early, PPP money for small businesses, which are actually grants. But that money is gone. So there's a real problem with whether they can survive or not to make it to the other side.
Now, we will get to that in a quick moment. But when we spoke earlier, you talked about how the hospitalizations and the mortality rate, they really had a chilling effect on how people spent in the early days of the pandemic. How are people thinking about this right now when they consider what to spend, how much to spend?
That's exactly right. In fact, there are a number of economists who've studied this, and we talked to some of those economists who've looked at it, including Austin Goolsbee, who is an advisor to President-elect Joe Biden and was in the Obama administration. And they say the evidence is very clear. There are a lot of businesses that say these lockdowns are destructive. That's what's hurting their business. But when you look at what the economic evidence is, there's a real relation between what's happening with the virus and what happens with spending. You've seen, for example, in the last couple of weeks, just in November, there's been a big decline in Chase credit card spending, 1% decline nationally as the virus has started to go up. So, the reaction is, there's a real chilling effect. People see news about the virus when they're scared to go out. They don't want to fly. They don't want to go to restaurants or bars or, to do things, to football games, whatever. However they're spending their money, particularly on travel, leisure, entertainment, all those things, any kind of services money, including medical services, all that is affected when people get scared. And that's what the economists are saying. It's much more the anxiety of consumers that's holding back consumer spending. It's not so much the lockdowns.
Okay, so it was much more fear that hampered spending. And another question back on stimulus. Now, the economy held up better than anyone expected in the early days of the pandemic, partially due to the stimulus, due to PPP. But we haven't had another stimulus passed. However, we are heading into a new administration, so presidential administration. So tell us about how that may change things when we look ahead.
It's really interesting because we have run out of stimulus money. Some of these programs like the PPP, which is for small business funding, those have ended. And in fact, the unemployment compensation programs, They end in late December. There'll be 12 million unemployed who will be losing unemployment compensation. And some people believe, some economists believe, that could throw the economy into contraction, into negative growth in the first quarter. So, there are a lot of folks, including President-elect Biden, who are calling for more stimulus. The problem is there have been negotiations between the Republicans and the Democrats for stimulus. Both agree that some more spending is necessary, but they disagree on what and how much.
Okay.
And, even in January, the likelihood is you're going to get a Republican Senate. So, people are saying the outlook is not particularly good for significant stimulus.
Okay. And last question. We are heading into the holiday shopping season. Thanksgiving is around us. Black Friday is around us. You spoke to a lot of business owners and consumers. How are they plotting their next move? How are they thinking and talking about the holiday shopping season?
This is going to be a Black Friday the day after Thanksgiving like no other Black Friday because, ordinarily, the retailers are looking for big crowds to swarm into their stores and look for bargains at 5 or 6 a.m. But now, the stores want to socially distance because that's what people want. And so it's going to be much more pickup oriented. You order online and you pick up at the store and you avoid crowds and you wear masks. And it's going to be very different. But the problem is, if we continue to see high levels of infection, which is very likely, people are not going to want to go out into the stores at all.
Right. Okay.
So it's going to have a real chilling effect this season.
Okay. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.